particularly thank Dr. Hemant sir for giving me opportunity to present. And, we go straight on to the session. Um, Before going into the actual topic, let's actually have a refresh over digital image processing for some time, and after that we'll be going directly to our. Okay. Could you able to view my screen?
Not it process.
Could you not even? I think I've given a present screen option. Able to view my screen? Pardon?
Not it, sir. No, varla, sir.
Share ஆகலையா?
இல்லைங்களே sir.
Oh, okay. Able to share my see my
Yes,
screen?
sir. It's coming, sir. It's coming.
Okay, okay, nice. Okay, so I think
Sir, உங்க வாய்ஸ் பிரேக் ஆயிடுச்சு. Left hand.
Hi, everybody. Can you able to hear me?
Yes, bro, sir.
Okay. Fine. Could you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. What is the first we start with the digital image processing. What is a digital image? These are all the obvious questions and answers which you maybe known. The digital image consists of a two-dimensional function, which is a function of the position of the pixel x comma y coordinate, in which the value of the pixel is the actual value and the coordinates denotes the address where the pixel belongs to. And in the case of a color image, we'll be having a combo of R, Y, B, both things. In the case of a black and white, we have only two combos, only two, either it's bright or dark. Okay. So what does a digital image processing consist of? A process digital imaging by means of computer covers low, mid, and high level processes. Okay. Then we move on to the pixel. What is a pixel? It's a short form of picture element. That is it is a basic unit of any two-dimensional image is a pixel. In the case of a video image, it is also appear in the case of the video image also. Okay. So this is the depiction of a simple image formation. How an image is being formed. Okay, image may be of any kind, a material, a human being, or it might be a source or it might be a reflector. How an image is formed. Okay, image is formed through light. Whenever the source light incidents on a particular object, it reflects that, and we capture that particular um, reflected light, and we senses that there is some object over there, this object or a human being or any living thing or anything. Okay, so there should be a presence of light that makes the detection of any kind of object. Without light or without reflection, a image could not be captured at any cost. So this is the basic thing. A camera needs a reflection as well as the illumination from the light source. So this is the mathematical mathematical representation for formation of image. F of x comma y is equal to I of x y in the to the function of r of x y, where I of x y is the illumination at that point. Illumination means the amount of light being incidenting on the particular object, and r of x y is the reflectivity of the particular object. If any of the both case, if any of these terms become zero, then there won't be any image formed. Okay, so I of x, either I of xy or y or r of xy is zero, anyone, either case is zero, then we don't able to see any object. That is like in a dark room. So there should be a illumination, and also there should be some reflectance. The value of illumination varies from 0 to infinity, because it varies from zero darkness to the sunlight. The sunlight, whenever we near to the sun, it may reach the infinity. The brightness of the sun could not be measured, no. So like that. So it ranges from 0 to infinity. Similarly, the reflectance, but reflectance won't be more than 1. It ranges between 0 and 1. 0 means it is a totally absorbing body. It doesn't reflect any light, and a 1 gives a perfect reflecting object, like a mirror, like a pure mirror. Okay, like a good mirror, something like that. So the object which you view is the function is between the product of these two values, I of xy illumination and reflectance r of xy of at a particular for a particular pixel. If it is a group of pixel, then it should be multiplied in group. Okay, then it will be explained in the later sections. So this is the basic thing. It consists of both reflection. The factors depend both on reflection as well as the illumination on the particular point. If any of this is become zero, then there will not be any image, okay, which you will be able to see. So these are all the different reflectance ranges for different objects. You can see a black velvet, it's a bad reflector. It consists of 0.01 in the value of the scale of 0 to 1. and a stainless steel consists of 0.65, and a silver plated metal with good reflectivity has a reflectance range of 0.9. So these are some examples. So basic image processing techniques could be broadly classified under six areas of classifications. First is image representation, which deals with the representing of a particular image in the X and Y domain, and then we move on to the different techniques using the image processing. One is image. The next area consists of image enhancement. Image enhancement is nothing but of improving the image quality. Okay, already existing quality. It consists of pseudo coloring, that is giving artificial color to a already existing photograph. It consists of sharpening of edges, and it consists of improving the contrast, which you use day to day in the case of television sets, the digital television sets, LCD or LED television sets, which you now use. These techniques are very much applicable in every electronic gadgets which have displays, particularly LED displays are the latest now quad displays to come across daily life. Image restoration nothing but of removal of unwanted, already the image is present, but if there is any unwanted things like noise or any unwanted things like motion blur is there, it is used this particular technique is used to remove these noises and blur and everything. Okay, then image analysis nothing but of quantitative analysis of particular image, that is to measure the dimension and to quantify a particular image. Okay, it's used to mainly it's used to in the case of pattern matching, facial matching, iris matching, and fingerprint matching. So all these techniques depend upon the broad area known as image analysis. And the fifth technique is image reconstruction. Image reconstruction consists of mainly reconstructing the 3D images. Each section is being taken independently, X, Y, Z, and being reconstructed to form a 3D section, 3D videos. It is mainly used in the case of scanning objects, scanning in the MRI, in the case of MRI, the case of CT, the case of ultrasound, to give a 3D effect so that the physiologist, the doctors could have a greater idea in going through the operations, in going through the different medical therapies. The last one is the image compression, which are very much familiar about this technique. This actually deals with the different types of compression techniques which we use to compress the volume, since the volume is very huge due to the presence of video signals. A video signal, you could imagine if you run for 1 hour or 2 hours, it could run into GBs. So in order to compress and in order to reduce the thing without any loss of information, we use this particular image compression area deals with that particular thing. We move on to the image histograms. The image histogram is nothing but a pattern of studying of grayscales. We have color images, black and white images in image processing. We have to deal with both color and black and white, but dealing the both at the same time using the same algorithm is very hectic. So we have to find a way in order to convert it to a common strategy, common domain, so that it could be worked out in all those algorithms. Because color image is totally different from that of black and white pattern. So we use the technique of grayscale, converting every kind of image into grayscale. It may be from 0 to 8 or 0 to 255 in any scale. So it gives the grayscale value for all images, and this grayscale is used to plot the histograms of a particular image. Whenever the color image is converted to grayscale, it could not be easily reconstructed. It should have to be again undergo the process of reversible process through many algorithms to get the color image. Okay, a grayscale could be made to act as an equivalent through black and white as also to a color image. So this particular image and its corresponding data gives us the pattern of histogram. For example, see, the first image consists of darker region higher. So we have a most histogram, most grayscale in the darker region. The next is brighter. So we have most grayscales in the writer. This gives the right side gives the probability of occurrence of the grayscale values. Okay, the right side is a plot of occurrence of grayscale, different frequencies of grayscale. If, for example, in this second image, we have white area, then it might represent that the more areas of grayscale in the values of 250 to 255. So we have more histogram pattern in the case of the right side, that is the bright side. So this is the histogram is nothing but a study of pattern of grayscales. Okay, for an image. Why we need a grayscale means we have to come these both. We have to make that both color and black and white come into the same platform. To make it to the same platform, we need to study about the histogram as well as the grayscales. This is a working of a digital camera for capturing a movie picture or to capture a still picture. This is the basic thing. So there's a 3D scene outside, a lens which is being used to give a focus to the CCD, charge coupled device array, and a to D converter is being fitted to convert the analog signal, which is a charge is analog value only. This analog value should be converted into a digital value, and is being stored in order, because there might be some time to process. So we have to store for some seconds in a buffer, so that the memory won't be lost. Each and every frame being taken has to be stored for some time, then only they will be able to process, because each image processor won't be able to process the images as fast as the lens captures the images. Okay, so there might be a small frame buffer that will be coupled with that machine algorithm, so that the machine algorithm is running on the digital image processor. That's an exclusive processor for this image processing. Like your signal processor, there is a exclusive processor for your image processing also. It is known as a digital image processor, which takes some time to process all this, because these data are very huge and hectic and robust. So it requires some time to process, so that we have some machine algorithm which is being put in the digital image processor, which is being coupled to the frame buffer. Then again, after processing, again the frame buffer collects the data from the machine algorithm, that is the image processor. Then it sends to the display processor, or it may be sent to the storage device. So far, you are very well aware that a computer could not understand any analog values. It could understand only 0 or 1. It's a single bit only it could understand. But usually in the case of grayscale, this might be the value for this eye picture. You see that it consists of from values from 0 to 255 in the scale of grayscale values of 0 to 255. There are different values, different ranging from there might be a minimum of 74 to 43. Even I see 43 to 200, something like that. So it all depends upon the brightness of the image, brightness and darkness of the image. So this value, when we want to process this value, we could not directly feed into the a digital computer. A digital computer consists again of digital microcontroller, a microprocessor, or a digital image processor, which could not able to manipulate these analog values. So we need the image digitization process. Image digitization process is a process which converts the analog image into understandable digital image, so that a computer and digital image processor could work out. Okay, this is the main aim for which we are working out. Because what we have said in the earlier techniques, about the 5 techniques I said about No, now you can refresh about that. The 5 techniques which are said: image analysis, image enhancement, image restoration. All these techniques are processed through your digital imaging processor by converting the image into digital image only. You cannot directly feed these things to a digital computer. After digitizing these values, only we could use to manipulate, because these algorithms being run through the programs which is being fed to the digital computer. Okay. So the image digitization process consists of two stages. One is sampling, another is quantization. This is same as that of your signal processor. First, you have to sample. Again, the sampling theorem also holds good for this also. The sample should be 2 times greater than that, equal to or greater than the value of the total bandwidth of the image. Sampling means measuring the value of an image at a finite number of points. So the taking samples at finite number of points. Okay, if it is a video signal, it should be taken at a particular speed. If the still image, we don't deal with the speed. Okay, quantization, we could take the samples. The sampling values is not, it's a whole number. It won't be a whole number. So we have to find the way to round off the values to a particular, to its nearest greater value. This is a compromise between the digital processor, which we could afford, and the image quality. If you want more image quality, we have to increase the length of the value of the bit length. We should increase the bit length. If you were very much compromised with the quality, then we could use a short bit length. If you want a better quality, we could use a 8-bit thing. If you are very much satisfied with the image quality, then we could short to 0 to 4, that is 4-bit. Okay, even a single bit is okay, but the image quality won't be that nice, or that could be up to the mark. So the quantization process depends upon the cost and the quality which we actually needed for processing. Okay, if you are going for a 8-bit, then we could get a good effect and good quality of image in the output. So a sample being, you see that image is being captured, and it's being captured. In the case of, we have different pixels for a particular image, and we have to take samples at regular intervals. These pixels are used to take samples. Okay, and these pixels may be a 0 to 255. In the case of in the case of a grayscale, it would be around 0 to 250, any of the value around 0 to 255. In the case of sampling, it won't be accurately in numerical integer. Then we have to round off to the nearest value. That is the quantization. So image digitization in an elaborate manner. So you see the first picture. It's a column of samples being taken from an image. The dark round circle represents the single pixel, which is occurred through the sampling, and this is being mapped to the nearest grayscale. It may be around 128.5632, something like that. So we have to round it off to the nearest value. So that process is known as quantization. So after these two things being completed, then it is known as a digitized image. The final will be a binary value. In the case of a 8-bit or 4-bit, something like that, or even a 16-bit. So it might be a 001010, that value, that particular grayscale will be converted into a digital value. So this is the difference between the actual image and a digitized image after sampling and quantization. The left side denotes the actual image, and after sampling and quantization, that is a digitization, we get the right side of the value. So it's not exactly this as that of the left side, but it somewhat represents the left side. If you are improving the quantization, then the curves will be very smooth in the right side. So it all depends upon the value of quantization which you are going to adapt. If you are going for a good quantization, then you can get a smooth image. It is very near to the actual image. It all depends upon the quantity. But if you are improving the quantization factor, then we have to improve the image processor value also. It should be a quicker image processor. It should be a faster image processor to process these images. Okay, so that is the main threshold in going for the a better. Then in turn it will increase the cost also. It will increase the cost. It will increase the other thing also. It will RAM size. Everything will be, we have to change. So far it should be in between the cost and in between the quality. We have to decide which, for what application we are going to use. If it is going to use for a very sophisticated application, then we have to go for a better one. So these are the different image formats. Okay, these are all different image formats which are used. These are all digital formats. Okay, PGM, GIF, graphical interface format, and JPG, Joy Picture Exchange graphics. Everything are all of digital processor, digitized images, which is being stored in the digital computer. It could not be stored as an analog values. These are converted into digital format. These are all the different digital formats. These differ in the case. These each and every formats differ by the compression technique they are using. Okay, by the compression and also the quantization technique they are using. So it all depends upon the there are different algorithms which is being used by different companies. Each and every company has its own algorithm to compress these images and to digitize these images. Depending on these things, so for example, the image hive is having number of bytes in each format. It differs. You see, in JPG it's very small. In the case of GIF, it is very small. So, but the quality also becomes compromised. In this case, if in this case of GIF, the quality is very much compromised than in the case of JPG. So it all depends upon the application. Suppose if you want to transmit data, transmit these images through Bluetooth or through Wi-Fi into a distance remote, then we could use the GIF type. If you are only used to store or you want to display, then a JPG is okay. So it all depends upon the application which you are going to use. So usually, a image file format consists of all this body, all these things. Okay, it consists of a header and it consists of image data. A header should be present for every every image file which you store, which which actually defines the particular image, and we have allocated different spaces for image data to be stored. So there should be something to be allocated for the header file, header in the case of a file, and image data. Okay, there should be some proportion of image header, because that header only gives the idea of the particular image file. So we have to put a header under the image content data. Many image file formats are the two simple model shown below, but there are many complex formats also. Apart from this, many complex things. This is a basic representation of a image storage format. The header contains at least the width and height of the image. The most headers begin with a signature or magic number, a short sequence of bytes for identifying the file format. Okay, so it's a very well defined, universally well defined thing to be followed by every image file format. So this is the representation of a basic image. So 000 are the values are the which gives the address of the particular image, and the function of this address gives the pixel value at the particular coordinate. Okay, suppose the function gives the value at the particular coordinate 1, 1 or 0, 1. It all depends upon where it is located. Okay, so this is the representation of a 2D image. So this gives the idea of how much data value which is needed to store an image. You see, m by n, m cross m, n is the diamond. For example, if you take a value of m cross n consists of each and every pixel as a value of 0 to 255. So the probability of storing is m cross n cross k. Okay, so particular array area is m cross n. So each and every pixel has a probability of having 0 to 255 values. So the total probability of accommodating required is, this is to assess how much value is needed to store a particular image data. So this is the output. B is equal to m cross n cross k, amount of values needed. So in this case, we can see. So if L is equal to 2, so the dimension L is equal to 2 and K is equal to 32. So it gives how much data value is needed for a particular storage. If it is 8 is the maximum thing in this table. So if it is 8, K is equal, so the value, if it is 8, so the maximum data is needed to, in the case of 0 to 255, a maximum values needed to store the images. If it is only 2, 0 or 1, it is very lesser, the size is lesser. As the grayscale value grows, 0 to 255 or any other higher values, then we need a higher value of storage for a particular similar image. For a particular one type of image, if the grayscale which we use increases, the total, that is the maximum unit of the grayscale increases, the size of the storage of the image also increases. But if you lessen the value of the grayscale, lessen the length of the grayscale, then the quality of the image also is reduced. So it all depends upon the what quality of image is needed. So this is the difference between the grayscale appearance of an image and its color image. So you see that it's literally a black and white. If it is converted into grayscale, it's a literally black and white, and this is the exact grayscale derivation of a color image. The left hand side is the exact derivation of the grayscale image of the right hand side color image. So these are the key stages in image processing. First, image accused. Image could be enhanced. Restoration, morphological processing, it is analysis, segmentation, object recognition. These are all the which we have already said in the starting time itself. So this is a part of image analysis. You see that the fingerprint is being studied. Fingerprint is being segmented and being studied and compared. This is very much useful in the case of forensic department. So this is you see that this image is being analyzed. After filtering, you see that shadow in the earlier image is being removed in the second image, the third image. First image consists of shadow. The second image gives us the histogram depiction. The third image, in which we filter the shadows and other noises, we get the. So used to for image matching in the case of industrial purposes. So we have ample of research topics and the scope in the case of image processing. You see, in the case of document handling means in the case of you would have already known about fake notes and to detect fake notes, to detect fake documents. Fake documents. Before 20 years, we had numerous fake document cases. When we are registering, we could not actually find out whether the document is genuine or not. So using image processing, using screening of image processing, we could actually find whether we are using a original document or a fake document. So signature verification, biometrics, these are now become a day-to-day applications and very inevitable applications, which is being adapted throughout even in schools. Biometric, object recognition mainly used in robotics and satellite imagery and in many kind of industrial applications to the flow line of the flow line of a machine flow line of automobile industry, when there is a defective part, it could be easily removed in the flow line by using pattern matching and indexing into databases. We can even store the different kind of images in particular Access and SQL, MS SQL. Also, in the case of Oracle, we have more facilities to store even the images. Okay, so after compression, we could even store these images uh, by converting into suitable formats. So interpretation of aerial photography, which has a wide application, which has a wide commercial application, is very what we say, in the early stages we don't find any application for 3 or 4 years. Now it has a wider application. We have used it to find out the routes, satellite mapping. You could find the routes in the case of Google Maps, and even the commercial runners like Ola, Uber, all these commercial running houses use this aerial photography, satellite photography, to actually connect between their different employees and their customers. Okay, now it became a day-to-day application now. In the case of autonomous vehicles, which is being sent to the Centro rockets to the extraterrestrial objects, or extraterrestrial in the what we say in to Venus or Mercury, something other planets or something, to land there and to automatically guide them through their intelligence, through their image capturing qualities, and they could not bang against a object. These image processing techniques may be used to detect what we can say, the presence of any other kind of objects in the extraterrestrial, to find the sensed water, or what kind of depth is there, holes and different formation of holes in the extraterrestrial objects. So these kind of autonomous vehicles are also used in military, which is known as unmanned vehicles, which could be used to send as a spy planes to find out the enemy, movements, also the enemy activities across the border. These unmanned vehicles are very much useful. These are all possible through the image processing only. So also traffic monitoring, the traffic density monitoring is used widely in many foreign countries, many abroad countries, uh, to easily detect how much traffic in the particular location, and could advise that those who are following through their GPS to a particular location could be advised to divert to any other pathway using this traffic monitoring techniques, which is all possible through the image processing technique only. Face detection, face expression detection, even the face expression detection would be used in the forensic labs to detect whether he is lying or something, whether to find out a criminal, whether he is lying or something like that. Facial expression detection could be used to even now, opening of your mobile phones, unlocking and unlocking of mobile phones. Everything is possible through this image processing only. And finally, what we are going to concentrate is the medical image applications, which we are going to move now. Medical is one of the foremost and important application of the image processing is the medical image application. Morphing and in the VFX. In VFX it could be used in the VFX of images, the morphing techniques, which is already familiar. I think already earlier older techniques, inserting object into the scene. And these are the companies which are actually very much keen in developing in the research and development area of the image processing. These are the companies. So GE Lab, ETM Bangalore, Intera Systems Noida. So these are all the things which are actually run over here. Active number of research projects and active number of employees in the case of the particular image processing domain. Also, we have GE, Philips, could be included in this list, because in the case of CTs, X-rays, X-ray, ultrasound, these are all the prominent players which actually continuously run their researches and also employ the people to improve the quality day by day. Day by day, they are using this. Particularly the companies which employ GE and Philips and many other things. Wipro, these are the wide elements which are used to produce the scanning devices like CT, X-rays, and MRI. So now moving on to the actual topic, medical image processing. I think you have refreshed all your earlier studies, and could be somewhat clear when we move on to this advanced topic, medical image processing. Medical image processing, these are the basic arithmetic operations which could be used in a pixel operation. So a pixel could be shifted, a pixel could be divided, a pixel position could be changed. Everything could be done. In the case of image processing, so it's a time, even if it's a time domain signal, it could not be operated in the time domain. In the time domain, it should be operated in the frequency domain only, because operating in the time domain is very tedious. Usually we go for a frequency domain, converting everything like your signal processing. You should convert this thing also into a frequency domain using your Fourier transforms. Like there are numerous transforms used to convert the time domain into frequency domain, which is very easier to process because already it is a digitized thing. This discrete digitized signal could be processed through your different transforms to produce different effects. Okay. What you said about image analysis, image segmentation are nothing but image transforms, different image programs which are used to process the digital image. Okay. So a basic image transform looks exactly as the block which you see in the screen. It's a total representation of image processing. For example, you input a spatial domain image into the transform. After digitizing it, the transform actually performs this transformation, and it feeds to the operation. It may be a filtering transform, something it converts and feeds to the operation. The operation exactly does the image segmentation or image analysis or image enhancement. That particular algorithm is placed in the operation, or it's a digital image processor. Okay, it's exactly a digital image processor. Then again it reconverts all these things and converts and send it to the inverse transform. So this inverse transform reverses its process so that it could be again viewed in the spatial domain. Since the machine understandable language is not understandable by the human, we have to again reconvert it. Okay, it's as of like a robot is speaking in a digital language. You could have heard about that particular thing in this movies and all. That voice could not be could not be like a human voice. Okay, it might be it may be like a representation of a digital thing. So we have to again use a inverse transform so that a human could actually view smoothly the particular image. Even in your mobile phones, the mobile phone which you are using uses this actual operation, or in this case of to convert or to compress, and after all these things have been done, it again sends the through the inverse transform so that it could be displayed in the in your mobile display. Or else if you want to store, it should not have to convert it through the inverse transform. It could be stored directly as a raw thing. If you want to see the display that particular image only, we have to go and perform the inverse transform. Okay. After this is a routine work for any digital signal processing or digital image processing. First, you have to send that analog signal that could be digitized, that should be processed through a particular algorithm which you want to perform. That algorithm should be which you want to decide algorithm which you want to perform in a particular image. After performing this algorithm, then again the value will be in the digital value. If you want to view the particular image after performing the algorithm, then you have to perform the inverse transform so that you could smoothly view the particular image. So we have 2D Fourier transforms, many other transforms, which is basically used to for the image processing application. So moving on to the particular our converging to a particular topic. So I have actually dealt with two images, two different type of images. One is MRI and ultrasound, which is being taken as an image of interest for me. Evolution of medical imaging system, diagnostic approach, general evolution methodology, in which module 1 consists of algorithms applied for MR image, particularly to remove the noise in the MR image and to segment the different regions. Okay. And the module 2, which I'm going to explain, is dealing with the ultrasound images. Okay, these are two different image domains. Actually, we have different kinds of scanning systems, scanning image systems. These are all the different scanning image system, imaging technology, and their application is being given in the right side. So computer tomography CT scan, which is particularly used in the case of brain tumors, vascular in the direction of brain tumors, vascular blood flow, pulmonary embolism, that is CT angiography. It is known as bone injuries. Since it is like your X-ray, so it differentiates between your hard tissues and your soft tissues. So this could be used to detect all this kind of bone defaults and bone fractures, something like that. And also, if the CT is fine, it could be used to even the blood clot and any tumors, because these tumors become very hard and become opaque to the CT rays. Whenever the CT rays try to penetrate, it won't allow that. These blood clots and these blood tumors and something the tumors. Okay, it act like the bone also. Okay, so this CT could be used because since it's a 3D view, it could be used to produce a 3D image. The CT is very useful. Also, it's low cost, but the safety we have to compromise because it is very hazardous. CT is equal to 100 X-rays. A single CT is equal to 100 X-rays, but the quality is better than that of your X-ray. So it could be used in the application of CT angiography, bone injuries and diseases. The more advanced one is a MRI, but it's costly. It seems to be costly. Also, it is very sophisticated, but hence it could not be affordable to everyone, and it is not needed for every small complications. If you want to have a fine detail over these complications, only the doctor's advice to move you to the MRI. It's nothing but a magnetic resonance in imaging. You use the magnetic waves, high field, high intensity magnetic waves to differentiate between your different tissues. It penetrate to your different tissues and produce different images. So it used to detect the blood vessel defects, abnormal tissues particularly it is used in the case of brain, which is very sensitive and it should be very much carefully diagnosed. So it is used in the case of brain diagnosing. Okay, brain and spinal cord diagnosing. Breast, in the case of in very small cases of breast scanning, abnormalities of bones and joints, diagnosis of pelvis, chest and abdomen, heart, liver and spleen, tendon, ligament, tears. Okay, so in the case of fine details to be studied, which could not be covered through the CT, we have to move to the MRI only. So there are other basic things which is already existed, like positron emission tomography, which is not very much, which is very outdated now. Ultrasound still used, but it's not very quality imaging system. But in the case of sophistication, in the case of safety, it is far better than any of other scanning techniques, since it doesn't produce any hazardous things, hazardous elements which is being retained through the body. Particularly in the case of pregnant ladies, who should be very much, who are very sensitive. These babies are carried in the womb are very sensitive to these hazardous waves. They should be protected from them. So there is no other way. Also, the greater advantage of ultrasound is it could be instantaneously viewed through the screen of monitor of which is used through your physiologist or a doctors or a scanner. Then the nurse who are carry out in the scanning process could instantaneously view the live movement of everything. Okay, that is a better thing. But the clarity and the noise produced through these images are very comparatively very higher than any other CT or MRI. And finally, the X-ray.
still now which is very much used, even though it is it's the earliest invented thing, still we use it. But now we have digital X-ray. We come across digital X-ray, instantaneous X-ray. We come now across. Still, the fractured bone, osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is nothing but the erosion of bone over a period of age, particularly in the case of elderly ladies, and warning of tooth cavities. So the basic abnormalities in the bone could be easily detected through X-ray. So there is no need to go for a thing. Only for traumatic conditions, we go for CT, and other sophisticated, other fine defects, we go for a MRI. So for a basic small fracture, something like that, for a small injury, first we start with the X-ray. A good physiologist usually start with the X-ray. Then if the fine details could not be observed only, he could be recommending to the other things. So in this particular research which I undertaken, I actually taken two categories of images only. One is MRI, another one is ultrasound imaging. So apart from segmentation, the segmentation quality depends mainly upon the noise pixels present in the particular image. So reducing the noise pixel values, we could improve the quality of the segmentation also. So segmentation, whenever you carry out the segmentation process, this noise pixel poses like a good signal, like a good pixel, and confuse that segmentation process, and come out of the process and spoil the whole lot image, spoil the whole image. If we want to particularly go for a brain tumor operation, we should be very much particular to remove the blood cells, the brain cells, which is very much affected through a brain tumor. Removing a single cell which is not affected, surely going to damage the activity of the particular person. Okay, so you should be very much careful in removing the brain tumor. So you should be very much particular in which area the tumor is present. Okay, for that you should be able to get a clear picture of the brain image. Okay, if the presence of noise confuses the physiologist, then it will totally spoil. Okay, if you're going for a open skull operation, then you are not having a clear picture of the scanning object. Then if you're going to remove a good cell, each and every good cell has a storage of different memories. That will be it's an irreparable damage which is being caused to the human. So we must very much dealing with the fine details in case of brain, in case of eyes. So MRI is being prone to some kind of, even it is very noise-free application, there are some noises arises in the case of MRI also. To actually perform the segmentation, we have to particularly remove the noise present in that. After that only we have to perform the segmentation. Then only your quality of segmentation will be improved. That is the thing which has been carried out through the research, in my research. Also ultrasound is the same case. Ultrasounding is abundantly present with the noise. Since it's not very sophisticated thing, it's carried out in the open thing. Also many other noises present in the atmosphere could also, since ultrasound is nothing but the sound which is above the audible thing, other kind of sound vibrations could also be posing a threat to the scanning in removing the noise and further process to segmentation. In the case of ultrasound imaging, I've taken the two things. So in taking these two modules, two type of different images, I studied about what kind of techniques could be used to actually categorize clusters, to segment these clusters between the noisy clusters and to segment between noisy and noiseless clusters, and that is a faultless cluster or actual cluster, actual cells. So we have to group between this noise and actual that real picture. We have to study between different clustering algorithms, which is being studied for over 20, even about 20 years. There are research papers being carried out even before 20 years, before of different to particular category, so that faulty cluster, a faulty pixel could not be made, could be easily removed by grouping them. Okay. So after studying all these things, linkage metrics, hierarchical clustering, density-based partitioning, and partitioning relocating clustering, which has probability clustering and k-means clustering. I selected the probabilistic clustering, which is one of this clustering methodology, which actually has a principle of categorizing only in any one of the cluster, either it's A or B. So it should be categorically grouped in A or any other group. A particular element could not be present in both. But in the case of probability clustering, each and every pixel has both properties of brightness as well as darkness. So it could also carry some amount of noise as well as a kind of good pixel also. So it should be categorically clustered into, or should be grouped. Clustering nothing but of grouping of particular region, that is a region of interest of pixels in a particular group. A region of interest of particular pixel should be grouped into a category, grouped into a group of pixels. So we used a probability clustering methodology instead of the outdated k-means. A probabilistic clustering methodology comprises of fuzzy-based clustering methodology. So we have different categories in the probabilistic clustering methodology. We have fuzzy-based clustering, possibility clustering-based methodology. We have modified fuzzy-based clustering methodology. Now I actually tried by methodology. In the second technique, I used the SWAM optimization. SWAM optimization is nothing but you are finding your shortest route using your beehive or your ant colony algorithms. There are many algorithms in SWAM optimization to find the shortest route or shortest thing. This technique is very much used to find out the shortest path for a particular destination. So I will explain in the coming slides how it could be employed for our grouping. And adaptive Gabor means, which I will not explain here because it becomes very lengthy. These are all the techniques which I employed for the MRI images. And we have also the module 2, which is being totally dealing with the ultrasound images. Okay. So in this, I have used about adaptive based FCM. It's a totally different thing. Adaptive based FCM. So these are the two basic modules I have actually carried out my research in MRI and the ultrasound. MRI, already we have fuzzy based possibilistic clustering algorithm. So the clustering is nothing but grouping of particular pixels categorically, so that the desired region of interest is being separated from the whole image, or only a particular group of pixels made to reflect in the final image. If you are using 3 clusters, we have only 3 regions. If you are using 6 clusters, we could see only 6 regions in the particular image. If you, for example, the image which you see in your cell now has 3 regions. One is yellow region, which is the box color, and which is white region, which is the background, and the black region, which is the letters which is being written. Okay. So for this to be very segmented, we have 3. If you have 3 clusters for this particular image thing, we could easily group and it could be improved easily. If you are using only 2 clusters, then we should compromise between any of the one. Okay, we should compromise. We should actually we should have to neglect any of the one, either the white or dark or the yellow. So the number of clusters increases, we could accommodate more and more region of interest there. Okay. For a brain image, we actually concentrate only 3 regions. Okay, that we will be dealing with the subsequent slides. So I already explained about the research being carried out in the using 3 methodologies: modified fuzzy possibilistic means, ant colony optimization, and adaptive Gabor filtering FCM. Okay, but I have not explained about adaptive Gabor here, but I would explained about the clustering method of US, that is ultrasound image. So these are the basic approach in carrying out a particular medical image, in segmenting a medical image. Okay, first you have to carry a detailed survey on various probabilistic clustering algorithm for image processing, analyzing features of various medical images of interest of MRI and US. Research on possible issues. Particularly, we have to study about that. We should have ample of knowledge about the different noises which arise in the these kind of images, MRI and US. In US, it is ultrasound. It is very easy to find out the noise. But in the case of MRI, as it is been already pre-processed, or it is been already done, everything is being finely tuned. It's not easy to segment that is to remove the noise and to segment a particular MRI image. Already it is being finely tuned. So I found it very hard to segment a MRI image rather than a ultrasound image. Ultrasound is image research is like a cakewalk, but MRI is not like that. MRI scans are already sophisticated things. Okay, so I carried out the research in the year of 2015, 16 something. So that time these clustering algorithms are being compared with the already existing clustering algorithms, which is being published in the year 2012. So now you see, you could have developed a lot after that. Okay, research has no end that you have to study, but this gives an outline how a research has been carried out in the particular methodology. That's the thing which I am going to explain you. Okay, I'm not going to get into the very recent things. Okay, I'm going to explain how the research methodology is carried out and how it should be carried out in the future also. That is not going to change. This methodology of carrying out the research work and carrying out in the future is not going to change. But I have to explain how it is being carried out by me and how it could be carried out in the future also. Okay. So comparison of performance with earlier methodologies for superiorities and possible shortcomings. Okay. Naturally, if you want to prove that your work is superior, you have to compare with the earlier works and you have to prove your superiority. But after carrying out my research, I found it very difficult to prove because there are no metrics to define how your image is better than your earlier image. There are no direct metrics. If you are going for a stitching, you could use you go and order to a tailor. If you stitching a fine fitting to you, then you say that this tailor is a good one, is a better one than rather than any other person. But it's not in the case of this thing. Okay, in the case of image processing, you could not easily prove that your metrics, because there is no particular metric to define the image quality. Okay, it's all depend upon the vision you see. It all depends on person to person. Okay, it all depends upon. So for example, see a person who having a color blindness, but he could see very well the black and white images. So for his view, that particular image may not be nice and it might be pleasant for him, but a black and white may be pleasant for him. So his quality of vision is different. So it all depends upon the perseverance. So I found it difficult to find a standard metric to find out how it could be justified, how the segmentation process could be justified. So these are all the evaluation. Finally, after going through a detailed study of the research papers, I found out after 2 years of wastages, I found out that these are all the metrics which is being used to evaluate the image quality, signal to noise ratio, contrast to noise ratio, simply known as CNR, SNR, peak signal to noise ratio. These are all the metrics. Okay, mean square error and similarity index SI. A similarity index is nothing but it's a correlation, autocorrelation. It's a cross correlation in the case of different images. It is autocorrelation for it. It is done for a single image. Okay, if the value is 1, then the similarity index is better. Okay, they are both same. If it is 0, the correlation between the two images is 0, then it's totally, these images are totally different. Okay, it is totally unequal. So how could this be intelligently used in finding out the quality of an image after processing? So these are the performance measures. There should be mathematical output, no, for these things. So these are the performance metrics. SNR is equal to power of signal, that is original signal by power of the noise signal, or amplitude of the signal by amplitude of the noise signal, square of the amplitude of noise signal. Okay, and P signal corresponding the signal powers. Signal powers is the energy being contained in the particular signal is used to find out the SNR value. Similarity index. Similarity index is nothing but a correlation of two images, I1 and I2. If I1 and I2 are same, then it becomes I1 equal to I2, then the correlation value become 1. If I1 and I2 is totally not equal, it's not totally dissimilar, then it becomes 0. If it is somewhat equal, means it occupies any intermediate value, okay, between 0 and 1. It could be performed, not this thing, similarity, it could, all these things usually have to be performed through the equal dimension, m by n only. Okay, the array should be equal, m by n. It should not be carried out between different sizes. You should be noting that the images which you use should be of similar size. Then only your result will also be better. MSE, mean square error. This is the way how the mean square error being evaluated, and the peak signal to noise value. So it's nothing but a maximum maximum value of the image, that is I, and maximum possible value of that divided by logarithmic value of these things. Mean square error value gives the PSNR value. These are all derived values. The main thing is the similarity index and your signal to noise ratio are the basic quantities, and all these things are derived quantities only. So this is the Rishian sample noise of MR image. This is the only noise which is being predominantly present in the case of MRI image. It gets its name Rishian because its shape looks like rice. Okay, rice in the graph, the plot graph looks exactly in the shape of a rice. So it is being named as a Rishian noise, Rishian sample noise pattern. So this is a plot between FCM and K-means cluster. You can see that the K-means clustering are totally being distinctively distance between this cluster. You see the dark X region denotes the cluster center. This is Y. This is the cluster center. So we have 3 cluster centers, X, Y, Z, which is totally demarcated and totally being separated from each other. In the case of FCM, each areas merge with each other. There is no separate demarcation between these clusters. Okay, but they bear the quality of A as well as B as well as C, but they affine to the cluster center to which they belong more. Okay, if they are very much near, what you say, if their property is very much similar to the cluster center A, they are affine towards that. After numerous iteration, they group themselves to the particular cluster centers. Okay, still they spread throughout that, but they are affined to only one cluster center. Okay, though they bear the properties of other cluster centers also, they bear the values. Okay, for example, a pixel might contain a darker value as well as a brighter value. No, it necessarily should not be a 0, or it necessarily should not be a 255. It may be intermediate range like 45 or 100, 125, something like that. So a cluster while grouping, this is a soft clustering, so that only it is known as soft clustering. This is known as hard clustering, grouping into a particular region only, not with the other things. A soft clustering bears the membership of both cluster centers. Okay. So this is my MFPCM approach, modified fuzzy possibilistic clustering approach. So to obtain an appropriate objective function, the following set of necessities to be considered: the distance between clusters and the data points. The distance between clusters and data points allocated to them must be reduced. Okay, that is the foremost objective, which is being neglected in the earlier clustering techniques. The distance between the clusters should also be near, and the data points allocated to them must be reduced. So, in the data points should not be should be grouped to a particular cluster center allocated. Okay, the distance between the clusters must also be reduced. Okay, so since if the cluster centers being made to close to each other, then we can able to get a clear-cut image of the particular. Okay, so the segmentation is very much easier. Okay? This is the mathematical representation of the MFPCM algorithm, where a correction quantity is being adapted to the FPCM. Okay, FPCM being already there is a technique known as FPCM, a correction quantity, that is a T term being applied to the particular term, so that the clustering quality is being improved in the MFCM technique. So again it is being repeated, the distance between the cluster setters and the data points allocated to them must be reduced after iterations. So this iteration is very efficient compared to the other iterations which is being studied earlier. So this is my comparison of the results of T1 weighted MRI brain images. T1 is nothing but the type of spin. T1, T2 are the two types of spin in a MRI. It denotes the electron spin direction. We have only two directions, clockwise and anti-clockwise. No? So T1 is clockwise and T2 is the anti-clockwise direction. So different images is produced in both spins, T1 and T2. So the first image gives the original image with noise, and the segmentation. The second is the segmentation using FCM. The third image is producing using FPCM, and the fourth one is my own technique, which is being produced using MFPCM. And you could see that the fourth image is, but using this display you could not see it clearly. The fourth MFPCM technique segmentation gives us the clear image rather than earlier techniques. Okay. If you have a display of in your laptop something, you could actually clearly see that difference between these four images, output images. So how would I mathematically evaluate all these things? In this, we have employed three cluster regions: so white matter, gray matter, and dark matter. So there are three cluster centers. It used to be. So if you use only one cluster center, we get three different images. Okay, we have dark and dark only. This cluster center gives the final image D. If you have only white, we could segregate only the C type of image. If you are using intermediate, we could get the second B. So corrupted T2 weighted. Corrupted means noise inflicted image is known as corrupted image. So this is my MATLAB output screen after MFCM clustering algorithm is carried out. The iteration is being seen. So these are the number of iterations which is being carried out. In the right side you could see visibly. So 100 iterations, but it takes time. If you increase the number of iterations, you could get the fine result, but it takes huge amount of time, toll of time. So I used a 13 version, MATLAB 13 version, to find out the different segmentation using the MFCM using. Also, I used a user-friendly guy to load the image data. We have different tools there. No, it could be used to load the data. First, the original image is loaded data from the given sample, taken from the sample, which is fed, and after that, the second one is the second picture gives the segmented, and the 1 and 2 gives it. It's not. It's a running continuously running picture for different iterations. Okay, so the second one is the actual segmented of the first image for the MFCM. So I already said no, the performance metrics is measured through the similarity index. Similarity index means how it is done means take a sample image by yourself, inflict it with your Rixian noise. That is, you have to import a known amount of Rixian noise in the particular MRI image. Then use your technique, FCM or FFCM or MFCM technique. Then segment it, filter it and segment it. Then compare the original image and after filtered image. Okay. Then if it is very nearest, then the nearest image is the better image. That is the concept. For example, if you're taking an image A, you inflict it with some noise, Rixian noise, it becomes B. You then again use your own technique, MFCM. Here in this case, it is MFCM, MFFCM. Earlier it is FCM. So I compared with 3 methodologies: FCM, FPCM, fuzzy possibility clustering methodology, and MFPCM. And I found out that the most similar of all these things is that the MFCM. At that particular time, I found out that the similarity index, again, it depends upon the noise level. So the noise level is graded between 0 and 10. Started from 0 noise, it works better for every kind, for all these 3 methodologies, it works better. As the noise level increases, then we found the difference also becomes very, very, very broadening. In the case of noise level is 0, it is very narrow. The difference between these 2, 3 methodologies is very marginalized. As the noise level poses a great challenge for these 3 techniques. So I found out my technique is very superior compared to the other earlier techniques. So the methodology is nothing but imparting some noise, known amount of noise, adding some known amount of noise to the original and pure MRI image. Then it should be processed through any of these 3 techniques and find out the and we have to get the output after processing all these things and compare it with the original image, because it should be very much similar. The condition is that it should be very much similar to the original image. Then only your process is better than the other things. So using this thing, I found out that in the similarity index, it is better compared to the other thing. The noise is being scaled. That similarity index is being scaled from 0 to 1 in the scale of 0.75 to 0 to 1, but nothing is lesser than that. So that I started from 0.75 to the scale of maximum reach of 1. Nothing had reached 1, even in the scale of 0, because due to some image losses after some processing. Okay, after some, even unaffected signal is being fed, it will get some loss. If you are using it through algorithm, process it through some algorithm, it will face some loss. So next, I employed the idea of ant colony optimization technique, ASU-FCM. This ASU ant colony is nothing but of a swarm optimization technique. It's a heuristic method. It's like in solving the traveling salesman problem, which you use probability in your mathematics to find out the shortest route. How it could be employed in this particular methodology means, in image processing means, to find out the actual cluster centers. Okay, in order to avoid the unnecessary cluster centers, to find out the actual cluster centers, using the cluster centers, feeding these cluster centers to the input, we could actually get exact segmentation rather than our manual selection of cluster center. A cluster center is nothing but a average value of this cluster. For example, if you are going to segment to 3 regions, we have 3 cluster centers which you have to give manually. But if you, in this case, I give it to the algorithm itself to find out the cluster centers using the my my given input data of image data. This ant colony find out the optimizes using swarm optimization technique like your beehive technology. There is another like ant colony, we have beehive drive technology. So it finds the exact and the most of the fault occurs in the clustering technology is to finding out the cluster center. The cluster, if the cluster center is not optimized, then you are going to field in the wrong segmentation only. So we have to be very much careful in finding out the cluster center. So this ant colony is very much is used to select the cluster center. I use this ant colony algorithm to find out the cluster center and use it to feed the fuzzy C-means clustering algorithm. Okay, and I found the results are very astonishing. Okay. Before that also I asked, so since research is not ever ending, so I also used, after that I studied there are some pre-processing techniques. I also implied these pre-processing techniques in the ant colony algorithm. These 2 pre-processing techniques consist of bias field correction. The bias field correction is like a noise clearing process and skull stripping process, because in the earlier images you could see that outer skull is also being accommodated in these images, in the input images, which is again increases the noise level. So using skull stripping methodology, for example, you see that A consists of the outer skull, which is not needed in the case if it's not a traumatic case. If it's not a fracture in the skull injury, we don't need. In the case of MRI brain tumors analysis or MRI brain tumor or brain cancer, something like that, for that the outer skull image is not needed, which again increases the noise level. So we have to strip the skull only to find out the region of interest, that is only the brain part. Okay, so I removed this particular region to carry out my research. So MR image of brain before pre-processing, same after pre-processing, that is skull stripping. So this is the ant colony optimization. You see there are numerous paths which confuses. So to cover all these areas, these are number of cities, the points are denoting the number of cities which should be covered without going again and again, and also without left out. Every city should not be traveled again, also each and every should not be left out. So this is after considering these 2 factors, this is the C is the minimum path which is found out through the ant colony. So this find out the shortest path which could be used to travel. Okay, so the objective function is given, the mathematical is given here. So we have running short of time. So this is the objective function. Ant actually finds shortest path using its hormone, which is known as pheromone. Whenever its food is being placed at a different area, these have a communication through pheromones. They have no voice communication. They have no any other signal communication. The only thing is the pheromone, which is being left out by the. It's like a hormone being left out by the ant in searching for food. When it finds its food, that left out pheromone won't evaporate. That will retain in the particular region, and other ants which follow for the food find out this pheromone. So as the number of ants increases, the pheromone value also increases. It makes the ant to fine tune its path towards its food. Okay, so that it could take the shortest path. Whenever you see a ant from its from its home to a particular food area to carry out the food area, it actually drive in a shortest path, not in the longest path. How it is possible means, whenever the traveling takes place between different, it's like a combo of different ants.
as the ant travel here and forth from 2 and 4, it finds out the shortest path through its pheromone density. Number of ants traveling through, if the number of ants traveling through a particular path increases, then the pheromone density also increases. This makes the fine tuning that it is understandable that ant could find out easily that this is the shortest path. Using this same technique, I use it to give a mathematical. There's a mathematical strategy to work out this ant colony optimization. Here, similarly, that using that pheromone thing where the tau of n minus 1 is the pheromone information value of the arc linking the node I to j. So, if there are different nodes up to j, starting from 0, the ith node to the jth node could be the shortest path between the ith and jth node could be found out easily through this pheromone tuning. Okay. So this is not a heuristic approach. So this overall ACOF FCM technique methodology, input all parameters, initially input parameters ij for each ant k, for each ant known as k, currently in state I, do append the chosen node to the kth ant set until the ant has completed its solution. Determine the cluster center using ACOFM. For each ant move I comma j, do compute dij, update the trial matrix, terminate when the global optimal solution is reached. Else go to step 2. So this is continuously iterated. First, it tries to find out the shortest path. After it is not found out the path is shortest, and again tuned to go for a shortest path. Again and again it goes try to find the shortest path, and finally it sets into the shortest path. That shortest path could be used to detect the cluster centers, different cluster centers, and the cluster center values could be used to clustering to find out the exact segmentation. Okay, if you want 3 cluster centers, you can use it. If you want 4 cluster centers also, you could use the ant colony optimization technique. So segmentation results on MR image without pre-processing, that is using the skull. We have 4 different images I got. Using ACOFM, the proposed method is very better even without pre-processing. So I also, not only similarity index, I also used MSE, mean square error evolution methodology to find out my method is whether better or not better. So without pre-processing, I found out the mean square error is very lesser when compared to that of FCM method, 0.933 when compared to the FCM method 0.948. For different images, for 4 images, for many images carried out, I only tabulated the best results. Similarly, without pre-processing, the similarity index value is also tabulated. It seems that ACOFCM method gives a better pre-processing, better similarity index value even in the absence of pre-processing technique. So with the pre-processed also, I carried out my research work. I found that the ACOFCM is very much better than the earlier techniques. So again, I carried out my research in the ultrasound. Just we have a quick look into the ultrasound processing. In this ultrasound, I not only removal of noise, I also wanted to find out the volume of the developing womb inside the mother's womb. Okay, developing a child in the mother's womb to find out the size of the womb. Okay. Whenever you go for an ultrasound scan, you could also see the weight of the baby using this technique only. So they segment the size, they segment the area of the baby presence, and they calculate the density of the fluid inside it, and they multiply it with the volume and give you the weight of the baby. By using this weight only, we could actually find it whether it is a healthy baby or not. Okay, so the segmentation is very much used in this case of ultrasound imaging. So these are the basics of acoustics for liquid
The sound traveling speed is 1450 meter per second, 1450 meter per second. The angle of a transmitted wave is given distance law, basics of ultrasound imaging. So we have three modes of operation of ultrasound: A mode, B mode, and M mode. Ultrasound image is used to gestational image and weight of the fetus. So to predict the presence of fetus abnormalities, whether any abnormalities are present inside the fetus. Fetus is nothing but the total womb. Methodology. Proposed methodology, first use adaptive. Here I use adaptive clustering methodology. Adaptive clustering methodology is a totally different methodology in this case of HCM. So the volume calculation consists of formulation of the sphere. Okay. A sphere as well as a ellipsoid is being assumed, and after that, so the baby consists of a head and a body. A head is being assumed as a sphere, and the body is considered to be ellipsoid. So after using the adaptive method, I found out the volume is exactly very much better than any other techniques. See, there are earlier techniques like Serona-Malik, isolated short distancing. There are many papers in the case of finding out the volume, and the error is very higher in the earlier cases. My error is only 4.7. So I found out this adaptive methodology finding the one is very much better than any other thing. So these are all the things which are thing. And for every researcher who carry out image processing research will find it difficult in getting the images. So these are all the things. These are all the image banks where images are freely available without any. Because for getting images, we should have a copyright thing. So these are all the areas where I took the free images, which are copyright free. MRIM radiology.edu, OpenFRMI MRIG ODU, they give free images for it. In the case of it. And also I got my ultrasound images from KM Specialty Hospital, Chennai, who readily accepted my request and gave the images only for research purposes, and so not for any other things, for any other commercial aspects. So this future scope, the algorithms could be fine-tuned. Since there are algorithms, computer algorithms again could be fine-tuned to categorize, to improve the quality of segmentation, which further research have to carry out. Okay. With this thing, I conclude and express my thankfulness and gratitude to Dr. Hemakumar sir and our HOD, Dr. Muruga Prakash sir, as well as our new VC, Dr. Mogan sir, Professor Mogan. And I conclude my presentation here, my lecture here. Thank you, those who listened. Thank you to one and all. Thank you very much. Sir?
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. Any queries?
Dear participants, kindly ask if any queries. Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for your interesting presentation about medical image processing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
That's the end of today's session, and I insist participants to fill the feedback form shared in the chat box. And don't forget to attend the quiz in the evening. Thank you all once again.